My name is Jin, and I want to welcome you to the Unwound Being. This is a place where we use curiosity to unwind unconscious patterns that keep us in reactive loops. So, today I'm going to introduce the tool that we'll be using throughout this entire journey, which is the tool of observation, more precisely, observing oneself. And in this video, I will be starting off by sharing why this is something that we need to consciously focus on, like why it isn't just a natural thing that we do, meaning observe oneself. And then we'll go into the benefits, how it benefits us individually by starting this practice, as well as how it's beneficial to others who you're interacting with. And then I will share a couple of different levels of observation that we can get into. And my hope is that this is a tool that we can practice together in this environment as we go through and we get into different episodes and everything. But ultimately, this is a tool for the tool belt in order to be used just in everyday life. So let's jump in to some of the good stuff. We'll start off with why we need to focus on observing ourselves. Like that kind of sounds a little bit basic and rudimentary, right? Like, oh, let's look at ourselves. But it is actually not natural for us to observe ourselves. And that is because when we're babies, when we're born, our survival is literally dependent on external factors, right? So we look outside of ourselves constantly to understand how we're supposed to respond or know that we're going to be taken care of, stuff like that. And so as we get older, unless we have a caretaker who is very conscious and is able to separate different perspectives, then we don't actually learn to observe ourselves. We just grow up observing others. And you can see this in children. I will use the example of a child falling on a playground, right? They fall, scrape their leg, and they will sometimes look up to see the reaction of others in order to understand how they should react. So kid falls down and they get cheered on, right? Oh, that was a good fall. Like you're a boss, you did great. The kid's more likely to get up and just start going back to playing. But if the kid falls and looks over and a parent runs over and is like, oh my gosh, are you okay? They're more likely to respond by crying, grabbing the injured part. And it's more of a reaction to their external stimuli than it is to how they are actually feeling in that moment. So that is why we need to even learn how to use this tool. Why we want to learn to observe. This is great because in a world where we all want agency over ourselves, this is the easiest way to get that, to take that authority and like be your own authority instead of allowing others to be an authority for you. Because, and I mean, like, I still do this where something happens, I feel a certain way, and it's like, oh, it's because I'm in this job that I feel this way, or oh, this person just did this guy cut me off, of course I'm upset, when in actuality, those experiences, those situations, those people are more just players showing us, offering us the opportunity to understand how we are reacting to that sort of stimuli. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So it's really the biggest benefit for an individual who wants to start observing themselves or who does start observing themselves. The biggest benefit that I suppose I have experienced within this whole journey of learning to observe my own self, I've learned that I don't get hung up on what people have done to upset me. It's more just being able to understand that I am upset, and then we can kind of filter things differently based on how we're feeling and not how others are reacting or how others are treating us. anything like that, because as we go through these episodes, as we get deeper into the content, it'll become quite apparent that most people are just reacting themselves. To be honest, most people are just reacting, which this kind of ties into why it's beneficial for others, how we can benefit others by learning to observe ourselves. So we just talked about the kid on the playground who gets hurt, right? And they look to others to see how they should react. So we do that constantly. If somebody triggers us, we have unconscious, involuntary responses that happen. And because we are creatures that are looking externally to understand how we should respond, us having a reaction to something could really suppress or impede somebody else's experience, somebody else's desire to be self-expressive. If somebody's trying to express something in a way that triggers us and we are able to take ownership of the feeling that we are observing in that moment, that would help the person who was our trigger, right? Like somebody did something, somebody said something. Now we have a response, we have an internal reaction. And instead of us saying they are the reason for this reaction, we are able to take ownership of that response that we're having, which allows the other person to not internalize and take personally the response that we are giving. I also hope that makes sense. It's a lot of like back and forth, but truly, like if we aren't reacting or if we're taking ownership of how we feel, we understand that yes, this person might have said something, but they were expressing themselves in whatever way they are going to express themselves, whatever way feels authentic to them. And we don't need to project our internal feelings or how things are coming up for us onto that person or what they are trying to share. So then we are now taking agency of how we feel, right? Like, and we're able to use it as a tool now. Like, oh, they said something and I'm feeling a certain way because of it. If you want to dig into why you're feeling a certain way, I'm a huge digger. I love, I'll dig into anything that comes up, but it's not even necessary. And that's the coolest part about this, is that it's not necessary. It's literally just taking accountability, just being like, oh, this is mine. There's a reason that this came up. And that's it, right? You can just stop there. There's a reason that it came up. And it was not because of this person or what they said. They were just speaking their truth in a way that didn't sit right with me. So I hope that this makes sense in how us beginning the cycle, right, of using observation as a tool could really perpetuate others looking to themselves for a response instead of externally for how they should react. Drop in the comments if you'd like me to elaborate more or clarify that in any way. Please drop it in the comments and let me know, because I could definitely break that out into a full video itself, I believe. But yeah, so that's kind of what I have to say about the why we want to observe. So now how, let's move into the how we observe. And like I said, throughout the episodes, maybe I said it, maybe I didn't, but I'm saying it now. Throughout the episodes, we will be leaving space. There will be space left as we're talking about different topics to kind of just do a quick body scan. And that's why I figured this video would be best put before any other content came out, because if we're going to be utilizing a tool, we should probably know how that tool works. So I'm going to share 3 different levels. Sometimes you might just stay more on the surface level. Other times it might be easy to get into the internal level. But here are 3 different ways that we can observe ourselves when we have the opportunity, when we feel, anytime we feel a response arise within us, for sure. But more specifically in the videos, when there's a break left for observation, these are the tools that you can come back to utilize. So the first is going to be pretty surface level, just looking at mannerisms and expression, right? Like, so an easy one would be to scan your face, right? As you're taking something in, are your eyebrows furrowed like you don't understand it, or that like you want to understand it more? Or do you have a frown and like your face is tight, like you do not like what is being shared right now, like you are having a response, right? The face is a pretty easy one to get an indication. Another spot that would be good is like the chest, the shoulders. Are you caved in, like you're constricted, like things feel tight? Are you open and like open to the idea, open to the concepts, whatever? Um, Another one, like I find I ball my fists up. I ball my fists up sometimes, and so that's like another one. Like, are you in fight mode? Like literally, actually, are you in fight mode? Like, are you closed off to things, ready to box it out because it's not something that you believe in, and it's totally okay. Some of the content, and I'm talking about the content in particular, but really in life, right? We cannot get away from things that we do not like. The world is never has. I'm pretty optimistic. Realism says the world will never be a red carpet ride for everybody. So coming to find these responses, these reactions that we don't even know that we're doing, and releasing them is kind of a way to just allow our body to physiologically become more open to ideas and taking in different content, which leads us into the next type of scan that we can do, which is more of like a muscular scan. I found this fascinating. I started doing this a few months ago, and when I first started, I would scan my body and just anywhere that I was tensed up, just release, right? And so this is the second portion is just finding where you're tensed up and release. And when I first started doing this, I would go through, do a body scan, and literally not even 5 minutes later, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do another body scan. And I would be tensed up in the same spot. And I had like particular spots. I point to my shoulder because that was one like where I kept like finding my one shoulder and my one hip were always tensed. And this can be a good indication that we are physiologically operating in sympathetic nervous mode. Like our nervous system is in sympathetic mode, which means we're in fight or flight, right? So if we're completely relaxed, our body is more likely to be in that rest and digest, in that parasympathetic mode. And if we're sitting there tensed up, not saying that it is most definitely an indication that we're driving in sympathetic nervous response, but it could be a very clear indication. That's what I found personally for me, where like I would find these tensed up. If you're able to release it, then it's not so much a muscular skeletal thing that's like more natural. But if we're able to release it, it is an indication that it's probably more of a physiological response to external stimuli than it is just how you're normally holding your body. So that's the second way is to do a scan and release. Shoulders are going to be a big one. Hips are going to be a big one. The pelvic floor, like this whole area. Yeah, so doing a quick scan, releasing wherever you are holding muscular tension. And then so the third layer that we can get into is more of understanding the biology, the physiology of what's happening internally in the moment that we are doing this scan. So again, like our going to the breath, right? That's a pretty easy one to be able to observe. Are we taking deep, full breaths in, or are our breaths super shallow? And are we like huffing and puffing? If we are huffing and puffing, can we take a step back to just regulate, take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out? Or are we feeling super relaxed and the breath is just kind of flowing in a more organic way? Another is the heart. Is your heart pounding or is it feeling steady? Does the stomach feel like it's in a knot? So more going inward and feeling sensations. And I mean, you can even take this a layer deeper where it's like, are there subtle sensations happening in your body? Like, did you just get tingles down your spine? Things like that. Like, is one of your knees, like one of your kneecaps, like, does it feel like it's got like a vibration to it? So you can get very subtle with the observation. But just to recap, we'll go over the three main ones that I hope that we'll utilize during the content that is shared, as well as out in in the real world, right? The first one is going to be understanding your your expressions, whether that is facial or just in your body, your expressions or your mannerisms, more external things that are more visible, just tuning in. And how are my eyebrows tight together? Am I open? Am I closed? Like that. The next level would be doing a body scan muscularly, like wherever tension is being held, just release it in that moment. And however often you want to do that, I feel like personally, the more often, the better. Because like I said, like I would come back a few minutes later and I would be tensed back up. But just going through your body real quick and releasing any tension that has built up. And then the third is more subtle, like focusing on your breath, on your heart, trying to feel any subtle sensations, whether it's like tingles or sharp pains. Yeah. So getting into the body and just understanding. And again, I want to come back because this does seem so rudimentary. I feel like if I came across this, I'd be like, well, what do you mean observe myself? But it is a really, really powerful practice. And like I shared in the beginning, it isn't something that we are naturally trained to do. So as adults with autonomy over our being, over our experience, coming back and understanding how the body is reacting to our experience is huge. It's huge. It's next level. And it's the first step to being able to better regulate the nervous system, which this channel is all about, unwinding the unconscious so that we come back to our being. So that all being said, I would like to just sit for 30 seconds. We'll take a 30-second kind of break so that we can utilize that tool of observation and just see how it has landed within us. So I'm just going to be quiet for 30 seconds, use one of those layers of observation that we just talked about, and just feel your body for a couple seconds, okay? If that pause felt long and uncomfortable, that's very okay. That is very okay. Um, even in observing, right? I just want to share that we might not always be able to pick something out. We might not always have a clear indication of what is happening, and that is okay because this is all a practice. I know for a long time, silence was very uncomfortable to my nervous system. Um, and that's okay. We all start where we start. And truly, the practice is in showing up. Showing up and taking that 30 seconds of silence, whether it's uncomfortable or not. We need to train ourselves sometimes to feel more comfortable in things that initially feel uncomfortable. So I thank you for taking the time to watch this video and take that pause with me to just come back to ourselves and better understand what's happening internally for us. And yeah, I hope that you join me back every Sunday when a new episode is dropped. And again, I hope to chat with you in the comments section. So leave a comment. How did this hit? How did this land for you? Do you find it helpful? You find it annoying? Both are so valid. So just keep me posted. Let me know how things are going. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.